Great Barr Secondary School in Birmingham is the largest in England, with 2,500 pupils and a staff of 160 teachers. 18 newly qualified teachers have joined the staff, and we're looking at how they're getting on in their first term of teaching. Helping them with matters of classroom manners and teaching styles is behaviour expert Sue Cowley.
You need to use things like noises. Right, everybody looking at me and listening. Yeah? When we were invited,
we'll be looking at two NQTs in particular. First, modern foreign languages teacher Stephanie Geary.
I had quite a bad day yesterday with a couple of the classes. But then you have great days the day after and it all seems to pick up again. 5 minutes.
We'll also be scrutinising newly qualified art teacher Gail Clarke. Year 8 pupils can often produce some challenging behaviour, and Gail's art class is no exception.
Art's generally, it's not a quiet lesson, usually. They do talk, they do interact with each other. It was a lot quieter than that group usually are.
Great Barr is a very large school, but does this mean that it has more than its fair share of difficult behaviour? Head teacher Kate Abbott.
Each year we take in 422 children, and clearly they're going to come in with a range of attitudes towards discipline and learning. I would say that given that range of youngsters, or that number of youngsters, the range who present themselves with annoying or challenging behaviour is no greater than one might find in another urban comprehensive school.
The NQTs coming into Great Barr School, because of its size, may find it a little bit difficult to get to grips with some of the challenges that our pupils throw at them. Most years we run at about 20-something NQTs across the school. So it's a large number, but they're very well supported.
As part of this support, Sue Cowley has been invited to meet the new teaching team at Great Barr for a question and answer session. It's an opportunity to air some of their concerns, and a few have some blunt questions.
What do you do when a class does not respond to anything and it is just chaos?
With younger students, so with the sort of Key Stage 3 students, it's about building up a reputation, establishing your expectations right from the start of the year. Yeah. And what you might have discovered by now is that you didn't do that right at the start of the year, or perhaps you were a bit uncertain. And so by this point in the term, the students are starting to sort of push at things. If it's a case of you need to get the class silent to speak to them about how you are now going to expect them to behave, then get a senior member of staff to come in and be there with you, to get the silence that you need to re-establish your expectations. Yeah, yeah. A good time to do that is just after half term.
I have a Year 9 class and Year 11 class, and I have some pupils that are totally defiant of me.
I think, as a teacher, you have to accept that you've got this child and they're 15 years old, so they're not really a child anymore, they're a young adult. And so much damage has been done to this person in those 15 years that you can't change it. And as a teacher, you want to be able to make it right and make it good and help them to learn, and you have this sense of vocation and you want to make it all happen perfectly and so on. But actually, there are some kids who you won't reach. Elaine, you're the induction mentor here. Would you say that sounds about right?
I would. I do feel that with the large quantity of NQTs that we do have in the school, that very often they come in with a kind of vocation that they're going to change the world and that all these children are going to conform. And it's a little bit of a sort of strike of reality when we can't change the world. We are not social workers. We would like to think we can make a difference, but unfortunately we can't make a difference for everybody. And I think maybe, perhaps, Chris, when I came in to observe your lesson last week, that there were perhaps a few personalities in there that you felt you were not winning with, and that maybe there was a bit of a guilty conscience going on with you there.
Well, I'd take your point about thinking of going into a vocation to really try and change the world. And the school is in this sort of area where, although there are a lot of good kids coming in, there are some that, as you were saying earlier, sort of wanting to take people on and wanting to sort of try and shoot down authority figures.
Why is that? Why do they swear at teachers? Anybody?
I think in British schools it seems to be almost an accepted norm throughout the country. I mean, most schools you go to, teachers will complain of two things: that's low-level disruption and being treated the way we are treated. And I don't know. I think it's almost a national catastrophe that it's accepted. It is accepted. That's why they do it.
I think in a good supportive school, it's accepted that it happens, but the behaviour itself is not accepted. So a student who swore at a teacher directly, you know, saying it without any sort of shadow of doubt it was meant, would be dealt with. And I would assume that at Great Barr...
They will be excluded.
It is unacceptable. Yeah. And some students may not be able to help that behaviour, but what the school can do is say, we will not accept our staff being treated like this.
I had a kid who actually swore at me. He was dealt with. It's been sorted out. But it's what do you do in that situation when you've got like 28 other kids in the class who are there, want to learn, and you've got to deal with somebody who's been aggressive and just causing chaos.
I think one of the things that you learn as you go on is that the instinct to deal immediately with every single issue of misbehaviour gets in the way of teaching. Yeah. And there is absolutely no harm at all in deferring dealing with something until an appropriate moment, okay? So let's say I'm trying to introduce my lesson, somebody shouts across the room, you know, something really inappropriate. I'll deal with you in a moment. Okay, class, yeah? Right, I want you to do questions 1, 2 and 3. You've got 5 minutes to do it. There's a merit for the person who does it best. Off you go. And then I go to that child and I can deal with them privately. So don't feel that, especially in a class where there's lots of things kind of happening simultaneously, don't feel that you always have to be seen in front of the whole class to deal with lots of individual incidents.
And when they won't let you deal with the issue, when you get, I wasn't doing anything wrong, I've done my work, I've done this, I know you're not supposed to get sucked into the argument, but how do you deal with that when they won't let you?
Can I borrow you, Steph? Yeah, can you come down here a minute? Demonstrate at the front, put you on the spot. OK, so let's say Steph's wandering the classroom. You try and put me off from what I'm trying to do with you, OK? All right, have a little wander.
Yeah.
Steph, I want you to go back to your seat and carry on with your work.
But I've finished it all.
Then that's brilliant. I'll come and help you. Back to your seat now. Otherwise, unfortunately, I'm going to have to sanction you. Come on, let's go back to your seat and look at that work.
Can I not just go and get my planner from over there?
Come on, Steph.
Oh, go and get my planner
Come on, Steph.
from over there.
Come on. In your seat. Good girl. There you go. Simple. If only it were that simple.
You're not bad enough.
Stephanie came to us. She was relocating from down south. And you could see straight away she was going to be a huge asset to the school because of a very bubbly personality. She's clearly an NQT that wants to be very interactive with the children.
Right, get your tie up.
Maybe she might have to think very carefully about how she does that to begin with, because the children that are here clearly are a little bit difficult, find it difficult sticking to boundary lines, and that maybe she might have to think about being fairly firm to begin with, and then she can lighten up and her personality can come through later.
Okay, la classe. Est-ce que je peux m'asseoir? Est-ce que je peux m'asseoir? Asseyez.
We're going to look at Steph's Year 9 Modern Foreign Language lesson.
How are you going to answer the register for me?
Oui, madame. Oui, madame.
Yeah, oui, madame. Merci. Sam?
Sue's analysed Steph's teaching and is interested in exploring with her the way she relates to her pupils.
Can you tell me about your relationship with this class? How do you get on with them? What aspects do you feel are working well?
I think I'm quite... Lenient's not the word I want, but quite approachable with them, and that's the way I want to be. I'm not particularly strict, and I know that. So I'd rather, not as a friend, but as someone, I say, who's just approachable and that they can come and talk to. Super.
What was it?
All right.
I didn't hear it. Can you repeat?
All right, can we do one more then?
There's an issue here in that it's fine having that kind of relationship with the class if it's working for you.
Yeah.
Okay? And if it doesn't mean that as the year goes on, they gradually push the boundaries.
Yeah.
What happens if all of a sudden that class are really naughty and you have to crack down on them? That's where you may find that you have some issues. To me, it looked okay.
Yeah.
You're on the friendly side of okay, but, you know, that's your style, and
Yeah.
it's working at the moment.
Super. Absolutely brilliant.
But I'd be very careful about using it with lower school, sort of year
Okay.
7, year 8.
Yeah.
Because they're not really, they want to see you as a teacher, as an authority figure, and you're kind of making life harder for yourself than it has to be.
Yeah. Yeah, no, write them up here, look. So, for example...
You have lovely body language, very open, very relaxed. You have lovely facial expressions, really beautiful face, you're bright, you're bubbly with them. The one bit you fall down on is the way you verbalise what your lesson's going to be about and what your instructions are. So can I get you to listen to this next little bit and just listen how you, the first thing you really say to them.
Right. I want to push on a little bit, going on to looking at...
This starting moment of the lesson needs to be like a moment where you say, right, and your language and the way you use your voice needs to reflect that.
Yeah.
Right, year 9, everybody looking this way, eyes on me, excellent, thank you, brilliant. In today's lesson, we will be doing this because it will help us to do this. By the end of the lesson, we will be doing this.
So, on the sheet in front of you... Sorry?
We're coming to a patch of sorries.
Sorry.
Now, why do you think it is that your language is so apologetic?
I don't know, and I got told off for this last year as well.
Right.
With some of my classes, apologising for things.
Now, when you apologise, what do you suggest about your subject or about your grasp of your subject?
That it's not what it should be.
Yeah.
Sorry, hold on.
And I think that that's communicating itself to the students, yeah? And year 9, obviously, this is the last year before they either opt in or out of languages. And you should be getting them so buzzed about it that they all go, oh, I'm going to do languages because Miss is, you know, she's really cool and we do this fun stuff.
Sorry, guys. Go on, then. One more minute. What we have to do. Right.
I'd like you to tell me why this lesson has the lesson content it has. So it's very much a kind of whole class lesson.
What's the word for train station? Say that again.
There's no sense that they go off into little groups and chat, or when you do set a talking task, it's like a 2 minutes and then give me your answer.
I've been a bit reluctant, actually, to let them go. So it's something I feel I need to bring in quite slowly.
Right. And what steps are you taking or could you take towards making group work more?
At the moment, they're doing pair work.
Right.
And then we hope eventually to then get the pairs together and work together in 4s or sort of half the class or whatever, working on tasks. But
right. I mean, one thing I would say in the children's defence is that if you never allow them to do group work, they will never develop the skills. And whilst they might not be terribly good at it when they start, they need to be given the opportunity to learn how to do it because it's part of the curriculum.
Yeah.
At the very least, you know, it's a skill that they're meant to have according to the curriculum.
Yeah. Right. Who thinks then that they can give me one thing, one activity to finish off that sentence? Who thinks they can give me 2?
There's scope in modern foreign languages, as there is in drama, for a lot of enrichment in terms of props and costumes and food and using the senses, and I just felt there was none of that in this lesson, and it was just very dry to me. And it wasn't the kind of, when you're in NQT, it's the time to experiment, because it's the only time in your teaching career when you've A, got all that support behind you, but B, nobody's going to tell you that you're a useless teacher if you have the odd lesson that doesn't really work. And it's a time when you should be taking those crazy ideas and thinking, OK, well, we're doing about meeting up with each other, so I'm going to give each kid in the class a card and they have to find their partner and they have to get up and they have to... Do you see what I mean? Or I would have brought in some cinema tickets and said, right, you know, these are 2 cinema tickets to a really good show and the person who can do this will win these tickets, or, you know, give it some spice.
Useful advice, but the preoccupation of most NQTs is one of class control and how to get the pupils silent.
With some classes who know me and I know them, and I know that they're just having a bad day and they're winding me up, I will wait for 20 minutes, okay? But that is very rare, because what I will do is if after 3 minutes they're not naturally falling silent, they're unlikely to fall silent of their own accord, okay? And you then need to start adding strategies. So, if you, for instance, have a break after the lesson, you look at your watch, draw a circle on the board and stand and wait for a minute. At the end of a minute, write a 1 in the thing. Wait another minute, 2. You should find by the time you get up to 3, they've sussed what's going on, okay? I mean, the most extreme I've ever got is where I had a class, it was a Year 8 drama group, bottom set, really difficult kids, and it'd taken me a term to get them to the point where they would even be silent for me to introduce the lesson. And I got so frustrated that I put a video camera in the corner of the room, and as they came in, they said, "What's that, miss? You can't film us. That's infringing our human rights." Anyway, I said to them, well, look, it's like this. I spoke to the head, said I can't get them quiet, so I can't teach them. So the head said to me, videotape the class, I will watch it after the lesson. And they were silent. You need to use things like noises. Right, everybody looking at me and listening, yeah? Now that is, I'm not talking to the class, I'm just getting their attention. It's also, getting silence is something that you establish from day one. And as an NQT, because you're not aware of how to do that, you sometimes end up talking over classes and then the expectation slides, and it's how to get them back to that point.
Back in the classroom, Sue's joined Steph for her Year 9 French lesson. She's going to be taking a closer look at her teaching style. She's also hoping to see Steph break away from whole class teaching and is keen to see her develop a more creative approach.
From the moment you get your item, you're going to have, how many minutes? 3? 3. 3 minutes to find as many words relating to that item as you can. So nobody must start until we say go, because you're all going to start at the same point. When we say stop, you stop writing, because what you're going to do is you're going to pass around. So, somebody tell me what you're going to do when I say go. You tell me what you're going to do. You're going to look in the dictionary for words connected to your item. How long have you got? 3 minutes? Brilliant. What happens at the end of 3 minutes? You're going to stop. Shh. Any questions? Hands up? No? 3, 2, 1, go! Okay. Sometimes what I do with this kind of task is if they're all obviously on task and doing well, but haven't got much done yet, I cheat it and give it another minute. But once you see that they're all running out of steam, then that's the time to give them something new to engage with. In this kind of situation, a bit of pace injected actually makes everybody take part. So you've got kids here who wouldn't contribute with a whole class discussion because they wouldn't put their hand up, they wouldn't put themselves forward. But right now they're using the dictionaries, they're looking up words, they're talking with their partners. There's lots of activity, and I feel that this kind of class will benefit from that, because if she's too relaxed with them, they'll just spend the whole time chilling out and not actually getting anything done. So this kind of pace really helps up the ante a bit with them.
I've got a better one for that one for you. Lads?
Well, how lovely to be in a classroom where there's laughter but also learning taking place.
Oh, voilà, class.
I think Steph's got a lovely relationship with that class. She's walking a fine line, but I think she's just about managing it. What I think she's learnt from today is that it's okay to let go of the reins. You don't always have to be teaching the whole class at the same time in order to keep a handle on behaviour. So long as you structure the activity properly and the students know exactly what they're meant to be doing and they have a target to work towards, you can let go of the reins and let them manage their own learning.
In the art block, Gail Clarke has a demanding Year 8 art lesson to teach. Like many Year 8 classes, they can often give her a real headache.
The lesson to me.
Sue's watched Gail at work with the class and has some clear advice to offer.
Right, guys, we should be sat down now. It's starting to work.
How many of their names would you honestly say you know? Be honest, because there's no shame in it.
A 10 at a max.
OK.
Yeah.
Now, as I watched this tape, I only heard 2 names. I'm not going to say what those names are, but those 2 students whose names you said, what kind of students do you think they are? The students who do what in your lessons?
Mess me about
right.
a bit.
Okay. It's the classic thing, and it's the instinct, and it absolutely natural instinct is to remember the names of the kids who are being naughty. OK? Now, you know the theory. And what's the theory? What should you be doing?
Well, trying to introduce myself to the ones I don't know, so that I can use them as my...
And using the names of the ones that are behaving themselves, yeah? Now, they're coming around the table here, and they do this quite nicely. And about 90% of them do it really well, and they've got their uniform beautifully. OK? So at this point, what I might do is go, OK, now I need to learn a few names before we start. So you're looking really smart. You've behaved really well. What's your name?
OK.
I'm going to give you a merit mark, including...
Lesson analysis plays a useful part in the continuing professional development of all teachers. But how easy is it to take these new techniques back into the classroom?
OK then, could you just answer your names, please, Joseph?
Sue joins Gail in her Year 8 art lesson.
George? Yes, miss. Sam? Yes, miss. During today's lesson, I will be checking uniforms. So, you have the opportunity now to make sure that your uniform is fantastic, really spot on, OK? Because if I find that it isn't, then I will have to issue detentions, etc. OK?
Should I introduce myself?
Yes, please.
Right, you're probably wondering why I'm standing at the front next to Miss Clarke. It's not because she's got a sore throat, although she has got a sore throat, so be nice to her. It's because I'm here to watch your lesson and help out in your lesson today. My name is Miss Cowley, OK? When you hear me go, by the 3rd clap, there's complete silence, everybody's looking at me. OK, off you go, have a little chat. Oh, not nearly quick enough. Chat.
Bob, Tim, Spider-Man, Jim.
That was perfect.
Fantastic.
I'm going to set you a target. When I say go, I'm going to count from 10 down to 0, and by the time I get to 0, you're going to have stood up, walked calmly and sensibly over to this table, and gather round so me and Miss Clarke can introduce the lesson. 3, 2, 1, go. 10, 9, set yourselves up. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can practice at break, or you can do it now. Clinton, you want to spend the break practicing standing up?
Yeah, please. I'm standing up.
Thank you very much. That's lovely. Can you all look at me, please? Brilliant. Can you take your hands out of your pockets, Papa? Lovely. You look much smarter that way. Now, in today's lesson, what you're going to do is you're going to take some descriptive words from a piece of poetry and you're going to turn them into an illustration. So, there's 3 steps to the task. When I say go, you're going to do the first thing. And the first thing is you are going to speed back to your tables, extract your sketchbooks from your bags. Now, I don't want to hear about I ain't got. I will deal with that in a moment. OK, no more questions. 3, 2, 1, go! Get to it, kids.
Could you take the paper?
Take it round, give it to anybody who needs it. Miss Clarke, I'm assuming there's a sanction for not having your sketchbook. These guys have got going already. That's fantastic.
Excellent, lads at the back. Fantastic. Well done.
Somebody here has had a brilliant idea, so it's not always about telling you off, is it?
Excellent. You're all getting the hang of that now. Well done.
Is this helping you, Gail?
It is, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of points out of this that I will take out and use them actually in my lessons. In all lessons across the board, that is.
I've just taken over a Year 9 form and I'm really struggling with them to get them on side. They're not accepting me as the new form tutor at all.
Okay.
And at first I had them in a seating plan, boy, girl, and they still would not listen to me.
Okay,
I can't even do the register anymore.
Form groups are a different kettle of fish, and you will get nowhere with a form group who've had somebody else, got to know somebody else, had that form tutor for a while, and then you suddenly appear and you're like the strict woman from hell. Okay? Form time is not like lesson time because the focus isn't learning, it's taking the register and getting notes and things. So I would advise you to change tack. Ask every kid in that form to bring in something that says something about themselves. Because say to them, I want to learn about you, I want to get to know you, I don't know you. Yeah, I had a similar experience with the Year 10 form. They wouldn't even shut up to let me take the register. So I got to know a little group of girls, they helped me take the register. Then I got to know the next table. Then I got them all to tell me something about themselves and I remembered about what they'd told me. So it's a different kind of relationship.
Winning them over slowly, bit by bit.
Yeah. The thing to remember when you start out in teaching is that the job you're doing is so vital, so important, and that for every bad lesson and bad, difficult class, you know, 20 out of those 25 kids will have learnt something, will look back on their time with you as something really positive. And when I go into schools and train the teachers, I always ask them to put their hands up if they remember a teacher from their days at school that inspired them. And you always get about 30–40% putting a hand up. And, you know, teaching is tough, but you stick at it and you persist and it does get a lot easier.